View stats. Okay. So it should be saying that it is live now. Online. Streaming health is good. Okay. Let's go to the game. Okay, now how did I find that before? Okay, there we go. Let's go ahead and okay. The chat is live. Let's see what happens. Okay, this is my stream for tonight. Going to be playing some more in New Mexico. It's been a few weeks. I don't quite remember where I left off. But I did just a quick intro for anybody who comes on who has not been on before. It is I'm playing with an economy mod, classes economy mod to be exact, and so I do not have the money yet to buy my own truck. I've been playing for a while now, and if we look at my monies, I'm up to $2,600. I am cruising along. So since I don't have my own truck, I'm taking jobs from the job market. If I remember correctly, the last place I was in, it was in Farmington, so I'm kind of trying to stay near where I was to keep it a little more. No, what? It was Albuquerque. It was not Farmington. It was Albuquerque. So, one of the things I did just barely is on some of my own time, I was driving a Volvo truck, and I was unable to use a Volvo transmission. So I tried to get by with a 13-speed, which 8 and fuller 13 layout, which is not the same. I've got a mega shifter here on my G920 shifter, and so I ended up doing some Googling and found out that if I just copied the Volvo layouts from the Euro Truck Simulator profile into this profile, then they show up. So in order to try that out, I'm actually going to try out a Volvo truck today to make sure that works the way I think it does. If not, so we're going to go ahead and do 19 tons of butter. We'll have a Volvo 12-speed and a 455 horsepower VNL 670. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll be going from Albuquerque to Tucumcari. And that'll do it. Oh, you know what? I want to do one more thing real quick. And in fact, in order to set that up, I'm going to kill my camera, or actually kill the display and the webcam for just a second. And that's, I found this one site that would read off any, let's see, connect, you, allow, which should read off the chat should anybody come in. So in order to test that out, I am going to go ahead and chat one. Where is my, of course I opened it in the same. Okay. YouTube live dashboard. You know what? I'm just going to go like this. Test. Welcome. No, that's not going to work. We'll go. Welcome to Essence Streaming. And that should get me going. Or not.
Sean Hurst said, "Welcome to Essence Streaming."
Okay, so that should get us going. That should give me a heads up if anybody decides to join and chat. So hopefully nobody abuses it. Assuming nobody does, we'll stay on there. Okay, so let's go back to display capture and webcam. Make those visible. And we will go with that. Oh, wait. We'll throw that guy. And then there. Okay. So, first thing, since I don't have my own truck, nope, not that one. Every time when I start up, I have to, oh, come on. Oh, looks like my Xbox controller went to sleep. Hopefully that does not mess with the game. And of course it's, oh, there we go. Okay. So, because it's not my own truck, every time I start, I have to make cabin adjustments. Once I get the money and can get a loan to start my own truck, that won't be the case anymore. But I'm already all the way back. So we're gonna lower down a little bit. And then I'm going to, oh, one thing I do remember about the Volvos is the wheel comes back and down when the truck starts. So I need to actually start up first. Okay, now let's go back to cabin adjustments, because I made the adjustments before and I started the truck and the wheel moved and suddenly I couldn't see my dash again. So if I go angle down just a little bit, maybe more than a little bit, I might duck down just a little bit there. And that's probably pretty good. Okay, setup wise, I do have, I mentioned this already, but I've got a mega shifter, Tech Affliction mega shifter. And then I've got a G920, and then I've also got an Xbox controller here that I use for various other mappings. I try to stay away from the controller. I do have one within arm's reach barely, but I try to not use it as much. Whether that's good or bad, I don't know. But let's go ahead and check here. Oh, also I've got a mod up here. I'm pointing to the screen, hopefully you can see that. That it puts stuff that would normally be in the... Oh, and this guy down here goes blank. Anyway, it goes up here instead. It doesn't have all the information I'd like, but it works pretty well. I can always hit F3, or actually like F7 or something if I need to see that screen, or F6. But for the most part, it does a great job, and then it gives me some of the information I need without going up there. Oh, I am set to an Eaton Fuller 13 right now. So let's go ahead and options here. I said, hey, I added in the Volvo tranny, and then I'm not set on it. So this is just a Eaton or a Volvo 12-speed. I use my mouse here if I need to look up and down and whatnot. But with the 3 screens, I don't have to do that too often. Usually, when I come to an intersection, I have to. So, let's look at this. So our job is butter, 19 tons from Tucumcari, Nevada, or from Albuquerque, New Mexico to Tucumcari, New Mexico. We're delivering to Eddie's. It looks like it's. See, and that's where ETA. Looks like it's going to be a 3-hour and 42-minute drive, and we're expected to arrive early, actually. So I'm tempted to go ahead and take a look at the map here and see if there's any where I might want to go out of the way. And sadly, there's not a whole lot to do that way. So unless I wanted to like go south and around there. And the problem is, with the realistic economy mod, I would probably lose money if I did that. So, let's go ahead. We've got 1 low, 2 low, 3 low, and then with the Volvo it goes over to 4, 5, 6. Okay, so that should work well for me. I'm going to get myself a little more slack on my cable here. And okay. Oh, and the other thing, actually, I'm going to adjust just a bit more. Bear with me. And that is my GPS is kind of right on the split in my screen. So I'd like to get that not quite there. So I'm going to turn my head ever so slightly. So the GPS, I'm actually going to put the split in my screen on my pillar over there. So there we go. That looks pretty good. And that actually gives us quite a wide range there. I can mostly see everything I would ever want to see. That all looks pretty good. Okay. Let's get on the road from the outside. Actually, I'm going to do this really quickly before I forget. I'm going to take a screenshot here because this is, in case I forget to do it later, I'll have a, actually I'm going to come from this side. Oh, I guess the screenshot, I don't actually have to be on the outside yet. Photo mode. Oh, and apparently this is a dual trailer. So that is actually going to affect things. Okay, that's probably a pretty good shot. We'll take that in case I don't remember to get any others. Then at least we've got something. Mega shifter ready to go. Let's hop back in the truck here, and we'll start off in one low. I may get into talking about some shifting theory. I do not have any force feedback on my... My force feedback is dead on my control, on my G920, and I am not sure why. I am going to restart if that's what it takes, because that feels completely dead in my hand. Why would it be Mega Shifter? Okay, so it looks like I may have to restart anyway. So we're gonna exit the game really quickly. Make sure that my shifter is working. Or not my shifter, my... We're going to go ahead. So that started over. So that's at least working. We'll just leave that for now. Okay. And then if I pull up my Logitech, things look okay there. Okay. So let's go ahead and relaunch American Truck Simulator and see if it comes out okay. Because I do not want to have it... Okay, I definitely have some resistance now, so hopefully it continues into the game. Go ahead and drive. Oh, come on. I'm gonna get a Dropbox prompt right now. Go figure. Okay. No, it is dead. It is like completely dead. And now I'm not getting anything on my Xbox controller either. Man, all kinds of... Oh. Okay. Come on. I bet that's what's happening, is the Xbox is stealing the force feedback or something. I swear I did this before though, and I did not have that problem. Ah. Okay, well, talk about technical difficulties. Let's see what I can get here. What if I turn this guy on? Do I get anything out of him? Okay, well, we're gonna go like this. Okay, so I've got one. Okay. Well, that did that. But why am I still dead on the steering wheel? I mean, I guess I can play that way, but that's going to be more than a little bit frustrating. If anybody on the chat happens to know why it's doing this, go ahead and shout out, because I think it's something to do with the Xbox controller, but I swear that I did a test play the other day to see if the Xbox was going to have any problems like that. Force feedback. Okay, we're going to exit one more time here. I'm going to check my Steam settings. Let's see. The steering wheel. I don't have any settings here for like whether the force feedback is going or not. Do I? Settings, G920. I can allow the game to adjust. Okay, controller config. Okay, that's definitely the controller config I want, so that's okay. But why is it that it's not? I'm not sure why it's losing all force feedback in the game. I mean, I've got resistance right now. So let's go back. Let's go back here. And apparently my webcam is frozen as well. Okay. So if the webcam is frozen, maybe I need to go like this. Okay, I'm gonna stop the stream. Maybe. Just a second. Let's see if I can get this guy to work again. Okay, it came back up. Okay, hopefully the webcam doesn't die again, because that is a pain. And I mean, it feels like I've got force feedback, so hopefully that force feedback sticks around. Okay, close you. Come on. Okay, let's try this again. Hopefully my force feedback sticks around this time. In just a second, because yes, I do really want to quit, because my Xbox controller went to sleep again. Why is it going to sleep so quickly? Okay. Oh, And I am using soft TH, and logos popped up on the side there. Okay, you know what? It might be something to do with this profile that's doing it. Yep, because it just went dead. Okay, there is definitely... I wonder, out of curiosity, if I go to a different profile, do I get a dead wheel, or does it keep working right? Okay, so it came back. Dead wheel again. I may just have to play with a dead wheel, as much as I don't like that. And I'll figure it out another time. We'll see. I'm gonna try just really quickly. Controls, force feedback. And now I've at least don't have a dead wheel. That's pretty stiff. Whoa, hit the microphone there. Okay, force feedback terrain. I'm gonna, maybe if I like turn these up some. No. I think that it must be going to the Xbox controller or something. I have no clue. I'm gonna have to look into that another time. So let's try. After like 10 minutes here of streaming, we'll finally get on the road. I have no idea why that is just dead. If anybody has any input on how to make that not dead, let me know, because this is a first. It may be the first time I'm playing with the Xbox controller, although I think I did some before. If that's the case, I can always switch back to the DualShock 4, but let's do this. Hop into first, and it's raining now, which it was not doing before. Man, this feels so weird having it dead. So I usually on American Truck I do floating my gears, but since I'm in a Volvo, they actually have synchro mesh trannies, so I should not float gears. That's a great way to rip out the tranny. So for that reason, I am going to be shifting with the clutch today, which is not really the way that you're supposed to play American Truck. You know, you're supposed to float the gears and stuff like American Truck drivers do. But given the difference in my truck here, that would actually be more realistic to do. And I've got a double trailer, which I've got to remember. Man, this feels so... You know what? No, I can't do that, though. This feels so, like, there's no feedback from the road, so we'll see how this goes. If I wreck even once, I am not going to come out ahead, because if you look at my pay for the... It's only $157 for the pay, so even one wreck makes it where it's not enough. One ticket, one wreck, one anything. The economy mod makes a huge difference. One of these days I'll have enough to buy my own truck, but now one of the things about the Volvo layout is the Volvo layout. So on an Eaton Fuller you've got kind of 4 shift spots that you normally use. On a Volvo you only use 3, so there's up in the middle, down in the middle, and up and to the right. So more recently I've been playing with Eaton Fullers because I've been playing American Truck more, so I'm going to have to get used to that. Let's go ahead and kick on the engine brake here. We'll kick it off. We'll be making a right turn. And I will stop just where I can see that red light. Okay. Now, this is a 12-speed, but there's no reason, at least with this load, to go ahead and use them all on flat ground. Whoa, man, it feels like I'm slipping all over the place because I don't have any force feedback on my wheel, but I'm just going to have to get used to that for this time. It's funny that, you know, I guess there was a time when that wasn't a thing. I mean, I remember, oh, that would have been way back in like 7th grade. I was actually playing on a Mac. It was some flight simulator, and it was epic by today's standards. The flight simulator, the yoke actually worked by flipping a mouse upside down. It had like a shaft that went out, and you flip the mouse upside down in this holder, and then when you turned the yoke or when you pulled the yoke in and out, it actually picked up as mouse movements, and that's how it knew what you were doing. So obviously no force feedback in that situation. But now that I'm used to force feedback all the time, this is definitely feeling different. Takes away from the realism a little bit. So yeah, if anybody on the chat happens to know why I am not getting force feedback out of my G920 when making use of an Xbox controller, that would be great knowledge to have. And otherwise I'm going to have to go and troubleshoot after this. So I'm almost to high gear here, 6 low. We'll see if this Volvo can get me up to speed. With 75 miles an hour is the speed limit. I'm not sure if I'm going to. But we are just leaving Albuquerque with 19 tons of butter in a dual... nope, not that one. What is it? No, this one. In a dual trailer layout. And this is my exit, so I want to get over. Nobody coming up on me there? Ooh, man. This is so twitchy now. Oh man, that was close. That was way too close. I think this load's heavier than I realized it was. Although I think more than anything, this shifter with no... I mean, it just feels like there's nothing there. It's just, I mean, it's smooth as butter. I guess it's probably because I'm transporting butter, but that's just my theory, I guess. Yeah, I don't know if this Volvo is going to get me up to 75. I know I've actually talked with a few people on live streams here and stuff, and I have no idea what happened there. But now I'm going to have to cycle that. Cycle that. I totally just kicked out of the game for a second there. I've been talking to people on these live streams and stuff a little bit. And I remember there was one guy that I was watching on Euro Truck Simulator who was playing in Germany, and one of the questions, or actually he was playing American Truck Simulator. My bad. He was playing American Truck Simulator. And one of the things he commented is he said, okay, do semi-trucks actually go this fast in the United States? Isn't that unsafe? And I commented and said, yeah, they do. I mean, trucks often drive 75 to 80 miles per hour out on the freeway. That's very normal. Man, this is so twitchy. Anyway, that's very normal. And it kind of blew his mind. He asked me to translate into kilometers per hour because that's how he thinks. And I did, and he was like, man, that is really a lot faster than trucks go over here. And if any of you played Euro Truck Simulator and then gone to American Truck Simulator, you probably noticed that as well, where you're used to going 80, maybe 90 kilometers per hour, which is, well, if you look at the speedometer down here, well, 80 is about 50 and 90 is about 55, which is like the speed limits they had on our highways back, oh, I don't know, starting in the 70s, I think it was, and going up through the early 90s, I think is when they did away with a federal speed limit and allowed the states to make their own decisions on that one. And pretty much all states raised them at that point, which I don't necessarily disagree with. Although there's states like California that have a truck speed limit which is lower. Arizona, New Mexico, a lot of the states do not do that. I'm actually in Utah, and we don't have separate truck speed limits. But some states do and some states don't. So for those coming out of like Europe and stuff to play American truck, it seems more than a little excessive to have 80,000 pound or 40-ton vehicles flying along at 75 miles an hour, ready to run over other cars. Now, obviously, I look at it, and I don't think that we have necessarily that high of rates of semis. Cause man, it is way easy to overcorrect without this force feedback. Anyway, because a semi driver is a professional driver, then I don't think they necessarily have all that many accidents. But when they are, they're bad. I mean, when they do, they're nasty, and usually somebody or multiple people die. And maybe there would be a case to be made for slowing it down a little bit. As I say, as I fly along the 75 miles an hour. I'm gonna pause this game for just a second and take a look at the stream. I'll be right back. Okay, I don't actually want to watch that. Okay, so my stream health looks good. I think we're probably good on that front. I did want to check the audio real quick and make sure my audio is coming through like it's supposed to. We're probably good on that front. Okay, we're good. I'm using my phone to monitor because I used to have a laptop, but I don't currently, so I can't do it on there. So I've got just the YouTube gaming app to kind of monitor things and make sure, you know, I didn't just drop off the map or something. So anyway, so the high speed limits in the US are a little disconcerting. Oh. Because I alt-tabbed out, then I lost my gears. So anyway, so it's a little disconcerting for those who are not from the US to think that 40-ton vehicles, possibly with multiple trailers and everything else, come on. Are flying along that fast. And you know, if actual truck drivers drove like me, then I think it would be a more warranted fear. Luckily they don't, so everybody else on the road is a little safer. Man, it feels like I don't know, like I have no resistance on these turns and stuff, so I'm actually having a really hard time judging how sharply and how quickly I can make these turns without just completely losing it. So hopefully I don't completely lose it here. I'm going to kick off cruise because this looks like kind of a sharp corner. And I kind of cut off that bus because I didn't turn well. Come on, let's go ahead and get over. Anyway, for my triple setup here, I am using soft TH. The left screen is actually running off my internal graphics card, the Intel, and then the other two are running off of my GTX 1060. And I just made a settings change to the soft TH, and I think it's made a pretty big difference, because it used to be that the side screens, and I think it was specifically the left side screen, was pretty glitchy. Ooh, broken down semi. I'm not sure what that was. He was missing tire right until the end there, so I thought he was broken down, but he might have just been pulled over. Anyway, it doesn't look nearly as glitchy over there as it was before. I seem to be losing lots of frames. And I think that the setting change I made a difference. Anyway, we are almost to the end of this delivery, so maybe I don't want to start talking about a new subject here. This Volvo truck seems to be doing fine, although I'm not so sure I like the dashboard layout. It seems to, I don't know, it takes up a lot of space. But maybe about to hit him. Okay, should have hit my engine brake on that one. I got asked some on my last stream what I think of the Mega Shifter, and the short answer is I love it. I tried buying an SKRS first. I've got a whole other video where I talk about the debacle that was. I have my diatribe about it, so I won't go into it in depth on this one. But the Mega Shifter, I am way happy with. Tech Affliction did a great job on it, and I had it. It took me about 4 weeks to get it from the time that I placed the order. So if you're looking at placing an order, I think he said that last I saw that they're actually 15 days back ordered right now. So I would actually expect to wait longer. Ooh, that was overdone a bit. Oh man, I did not hit this. Oh man. That was bad. That was really bad. I mean, I did actually react. In the past, I've always just, you know, held my brakes down really hard. And this time I actually made a move to avoid, but that I was coming into that a lot faster than I thought it was. On that note, I'm still getting used to it. One of the things that I've noticed with my triple setup is in the stock game, your field of view is really compressed in order to get a lot more, you know, if you've just got one monitor, then the field of view gets really compressed in order to get as much as possible onto that single screen. I mean, even with my ultra wide, it was kind of, you know, you've still got just all jammed together so you can get the gauges and get a good view and see your mirror and most of that way. And so it ends up really crammed together. Well, when I made the switch to 3 screens, that changed. And one of the things that changes is the feeling of speed. After changing that, it feels like I'm going a lot more slowly than I am. And I have to remember that, you know, brake early, because it doesn't feel nearly as fast as it did. Go ahead. Is every one of you going to stop for me because I've kind of got my nose over the line? Do I have my nose over the line? I don't have my nose over the line. Stop stopping for me. You have the right of way. Okay, I will go after that Kenworth. Oh, that's a pretty truck. I actually really like those Kenworth K100s. I almost grabbed one for this run, but I wanted to try out the Volvo transmission and see how it works, and it works just like I would expect it doing. I mean, all said and done. Let's see, over here is my entrance. Oh, this is gonna be fun. Oh, you know what? They're gonna have me just pull straight in though because I've got a double trailer. So we'll go ahead and come right over here and then hit enter, enter, mic. Okay, I'm gonna, after this, I am gonna go ahead and switch over to the PlayStation controller. Oh, except, crap, I don't have enough USB ports. I'm gonna have to, I might have to, I don't know, maybe I'll have to wait till after this. And I stalled it. I may have to wait till after I decide to stop streaming because there's a couple other things that'll have to change in order to do that. Anyway, since I've got a double trailer, it's just pull straight forward type deal, so this shouldn't be bad to park. And I pulled too far forward. Yep, that's reverse. Okay. So, let's go ahead and put on the parking brake. We're going to take a look. Cool. And I'm just going to hit that real quick. And then we will detach, which is this guy. Okay. So I made all of $157. Had I hit that car, I would have lost it all. So I'm glad I didn't hit that car. $167 and 252 XP. Ooh, what? Did I just... I might have got feedback back. I might have got force feedback back. Sweet. Okay. We're going to check. Okay, so we are currently in... To what's the name of the place? In this place right here. We are currently in Tucumcari. And let's go ahead and get an American truck this time. Let's see, we've got 20 tons. And let's go with this fragile guy from Tucumcari to Roswell for 15 tons. Oh, it's a 10-speed, huh? I don't drive a 10-speed very often. This should be fun. And a W900? Yeah. Okay, we are going to do this. Take job. I haven't driven a W900 in a while. I have not driven a 10-speed in a while. And it's a day cab, which I usually drive sleepers, so that'll definitely be a difference. And it should help me on my parking, which I struggle with. So this could be an interesting delivery. And I lost it. It's gone. Still, okay, I've got to see if there's something I can do to get that back really quickly. Gameplay. Nope. Controls. It's got to be under controls. So if I just turn off the force feedback, then I get something, but that's not very great either. What if I just turn it way up? That's a little bit better. Okay, so if I go like this, I mean, that feels a little bit better. I'm not sure why it's so bad though, because I wonder if no, I think I'm just thinking that it feels different and it doesn't. Why? Maybe one option. Let me check this really quickly. Where are we? If I go into settings and G920 and don't allow the game to adjust, how does that go? Still does the same thing. So that didn't make a difference. I don't know. I guess we're just gonna... I don't see anything that a setting has changed that it should be doing that. Steering nonlinearity, steering sensitivity, controller subtype wheel, age shifter, adaptive. Okay, well, while I'm in here, let's go ahead and go to Eat Fuller 10, and we want throttle release, and that's what we want. Okay, let's see how this goes. I said I have not done, oh, that's what else I need. I have not done a 10-speed in a while, so I'm sure to miss some shifts here. Adjust seat. So we're gonna scoot this seat back a little bit. Turn our head just a little bit, and I also do not have a GPS, so this could be all kinds of fun. Okay, and then I'm going to squat down just a little bit and angle my head just about, yay. Okay, so, oh, I do have GPS right over there, and that's actually pretty good. Okay, so 10 speed. So this is going to be first, second, third, fourth, fifth, range select 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. And then here's my reverse low, my reverse high, although I'm pretty sure you don't really use the reverse high. Got my engine brake good to go. And let's do this. So I will be exiting over there. Let's go ahead and get on. Oh, let's take a look real quick. I'm just gonna do this really quickly. Take a picture of that. Got a tractor. Okay, so we will pull straight out for a little bit. Oh, how long is my trailer? It's pretty long, and it's a low boy. No steering axles. This is probably one of Jazzy Cat trailers or something. I'm telling you, this feels so weird in my hand because it's just like, whoa, I can turn anywhere. Oh, crap. Okay. I gotta remember what I'm doing here. Okay, so about a 500 RPM drop, it looks like. Okay. Okay. Come on. Let's go back to second. We're going to try this again. We'll get it right this time. Right there. Okay. Oh, that was way over revved. Okay. And that was way over revved too. Up into sixth. Seventh. Oh, 15, huh? Okay. We'll go ahead and engine brake then. Oh, because of the... Oh, yeah, that was what I wanted. I'm doing 15 right now. No trains coming. Okay. And I feel like my camera is all crooked. Does my camera look crooked? Camera does look crooked. Okay. So I need a... There we go. That should be a little better. Okay. Well. Okay. So let's ease up here. Don't want my engine brake on anymore. Hopefully there's not anyone over there because I can't really see. Okay, and then I will be making a right and hitting my microphone while I'm at it. Kind of over-revved that one and went up on the sidewalk too. I am doing awesome with this low boy. And this 10-speed. Man, this is a lot of changes to go in one. Come on, okay. And I need to find a gear here. And I just about got him. Okay. Wide turns. Man, it has been too long since I played. Wide turns. That was much too close for comfort. We'll go ahead and start off in second, because that seems to be working pretty well so far. Fine. I'm just going to squeeze past you here, because I'm not sure why you're stopping. And I am totally going over the curb. Oh, man. And I'm also over-revving. Man, I am all over the place tonight. Okay, let's go ahead and merge over. This is not our turn, so we'll see if we can get up a little bit of speed here. Although it is only 35 in this area. And this is going to be our turn up here. So I'm actually going to want to drop a gear probably. Okay, and let's get some momentum going. Come on. Almost didn't make that gear. And climbing up the on-ramp. Lost a couple of frames there, sorry about that. Not sure why. And on to the freeway. I have no idea if I will ever get up to 75. I don't know. I've only got a 10 speed here, and I doubt I'm ever going to make it up that high. But we'll see what we can get out of it. 10 speed and 370 horses. Pulling 15 tons. So 30,000 pounds. I prefer to work in the tons because then it works the same both on ETS and ATS. So that is nice to have a similar point of reference between the two games. Okay, I'm going to push this to a little higher RPMs than I normally do because we're about to crest this hill. So that looks like a good place to probably shift it. And we nailed that one. Okay. So we are on our way to... Oh, where are we on our way to? We're on our way to Roswell. I was gonna say it's the alien place. We're going to Roswell. Got a pretty big load, and I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna call that, because with this big of a load and this setup, I don't think I want to push much faster than that. So let's go ahead. We're not going to be able to get over. He's gonna cut us off. Okay, let's nail that next gear. See if we can get back up. I'm afraid we're gonna. And oh, I just cut people off. I think we're gonna have to drop in another gear here in a second. I really, on these 10 speeds, miss having the splits. 500 RPM is pretty wide. One place, I guess. Of course, I guess here's my exit anyway. Or at least I'm exiting here. Okay, let's drop it down. And I wish I could see out of that window better, but I cannot. And I hear someone coming. That was my fault. That was totally my fault, but I did not get charged for it, so I'm not going to complain. And this is not my truck, so I don't have to pay for the damage. So despite just having caused an accident with another semi, I came out of it pretty well. Oh, I don't need the engine brake right now. Sorry, man. That was me. That was totally me. Although, you know, you never say that in a real accident, but that was me. That was me. Almost up to town speeds here. Okay, 35, I'm doing about 37. Probably good gear to stay in, unless this bus does what I did to the guy before me. Okay, I will be turning a left up here, so I want to... They're kind of letting me in, I think. Probably just because I'm taking my half out of the middle. But this is where I want to turn. And let's go ahead and drop a gear. Okay. We're going to drop another gear. Let's drop another another gear. And service brake time. Okay, go ahead. We're gonna have to wait our turn right here. And I've got... That's interesting. Apparently they think that I'm blocking their way because they're just hanging out back there. Okay, come on, come on. Gotta shift sooner. I'm totally over every one of these shifts. Okay. It's 8th gear, huh? Ninth gear. A little bit of a chirp there, but not too bad. I really wish, and you know, maybe one day, I really wish they had force feedback shifters or something like this, and maybe someone could make one that lets you feel when you're sliding in the gear, but my guess is that's probably a ways away on the immersion front, especially since my force feedback steering wheel's not even working. Oh, you know what? I could do that. I wonder where my PlayStation cord is. So with my DualShock, I don't have the wireless adapter. I had a wireless adapter, but I lost it, and so I can do a wired setup, but I'm gonna have to think of where I've got a micro USB cable, which in today's day and age, I'm sure I've got a million of them. It's just a matter of where it is, and I could switch over to that pretty quickly. I may try that after this, exit the game for a second, and see if I can get my force feedback working by using the DualShock. That's what I'm used to playing with this game anyway, is the DualShock controller, not the Xbox controller. So that's not necessarily the end of the world anyway. I'm used to the button mappings on there, and all I've done is transfer the button mappings to the Xbox controller, so I might have to downshift here, and I might have to try and pass, which could be... Okay, I might as well just let up a little bit, because I'm not going to get a chance to pass him. So, in a second here, it's probably time to downshift. So let's see, that's about a 400 RPM gap, apparently. I think I've been overestimating. I thought it was a 500 RPM gap, but it looks like it's about a 400. Okay. Yeah, about 400. Okay, now here is my freeway up here. You can bypass the nearby way station. Cool. Come on. I missed that one. So service brakes it is on that one. Okay. I know this place fairly well at this point. Okay, after the gray car. Should be good to go. Oh. Sorry guys. Heavy load. Doing it a little fast and getting some chirps here. Okay. 8th gear and we're moving along. I gotta drive a little bit more to the right here because I'm cutting everybody off in that lane. Let's see if I can hug my right line. So if I keep my white line right here, then I should be hugging that line pretty well. I'm gonna hold this gear a little bit longer, see if I can gain speed. you. 10th gear, and we've got an empty guy, huh? I wonder he's overtaking me so quickly. Of course, he's going more slowly than I am now. Apparently his truck is maxed out, and I'm still going. Okay, we're gonna shoot for 65, I think. 70 is probably running more RPMs than I want, but 65 is probably pretty good. And I think, yeah, the sun's about to go down here. Probably time to turn on my headlights. Okay, and actually I'm going to grab a photo here. I have no idea what button I just pushed, but it was not the one I wanted. No, I don't want to change my field of view. I want to go backwards. Okay, and we're gonna run over this way. Something like that. Okay. And we are supposed to be, we're estimated to be there Friday by 10. And we have to be there by Saturday at 3:30. We've got good time. Got 3% damage on my truck and 1% on the load, so I'm gonna take a hit on my pay for having damage to the load. Ah, come on, stay to the right. Nope, we're gonna speed up a little bit. We're gonna see if we can do 70. I think we can do 70. 1700 RPM shouldn't be too bad. Going a bit too far that way. Okay. So I've been listening to some interesting podcasts recently. I actually started a new one. Took a vacation, and during the vacation, my wife and I listened to a podcast called Heaven's Gate, which, as the name suggests, talks about the Heaven's Gate cult. Really quite interesting. I have quite an interest in cults and religious movements and whatnot. Ooh, that guy got burned. I love these random... Oh, crap. This is us. This is us. Whoa. Pay attention here. Anyway, so it was called Heaven's Gate. As I said, as would be expected, it was about the Heaven's Gate cult and kind of what led up to it and all of that. Anyway, it was really quite interesting. A lot of stuff I didn't know. It all happened. I mean, my wife remembers it from high school, but I guess I wasn't that connected in high school, so it didn't really make it on my radar. The mass suicide in 96 or 97, whenever it was. So, please don't. Thank you. Anyway, so it wasn't something that was highly on my radar in high school or since, and so it was really good to learn about. And sad, I mean, you know, that happens, but not necessarily surprising, and I don't want that to be taken in the wrong way, but sad. Ooh, adjusting my microphone, and I'm going to have a wreck. Anyway, so that prompted me to come back, and I found a new podcast called Cults. And the first two episodes are about the Manson family, Charles Manson and the Manson family. It's interesting because the way they're doing this podcast is that and this is us. is that the first episode is talking about the charismatic leader that started the cult. Because every cult has a charismatic leader. That's how they get started. In this case, it was Charles Manson. And then later this, and so they give a really good overview of the background and whatnot of Charles Manson and what brings him to where he does such thing, it's just, anyway, fascinating. And so it got me thinking, because here where I'm living, we actually just, we also, yesterday or the day before, we got an Amber Alert, and they now send out the Amber Alerts on your phone. And so I got this, message, and I found out later that there was a guy up near the Salt Lake area who had kidnapped his kids. Now, oftentimes Amber Alerts come because of kids being kidnapped, not by the one who has custody. And that's what had happened here, and I'm still not 100% sure. Yeah, I'm totally just getting feedback on the Xbox controller. Anyway, I'm not 100% sure on the story. I've been following it, but not extremely closely. Anyway, and so this guy moved to Utah from somewhere else. I don't remember where it was. And he's from the LDS faith is his background, Mormons and mainstream Mormonism. And fairly recently, he and his wife got divorced. And it sounds like basically the divorce happened because the guy got, crazy. Anybody who knows the Mormon faith, or may not, there's more than just one Mormon church, and the mainstream LDS church will try to say no, they're not Mormons, but they are, and so there's the mainstream Mormon church, which was founded by Brigham Young when the Saints came west after Joseph Smith was killed in Carthage. But then there are a whole lot of, I'm not going nearly sharp enough, I don't think. I don't know, we'll find out here. Anyway, and then there are a bunch of splinter groups or fundamentalist groups that have come since, mainly, there are some splinter groups, but most of the ones that have come since polygamy ended, since the church stopped actively practicing polygamy, many of them are quite fundamentalist, and that's, the term fundamentalist means that they're sticking with the original tenets of the church. And this guy, well, he started as a mainstream Mormon, with what most Mormons would consider to be, or what mainstream LDS would think of as pretty normal beliefs. He got radicalized, and I don't know if that's necessarily the right term, but I don't think it's necessarily a bad term for it either. If you think of what happens with radical radical Muslims, or with radical Islam, killed my engine. So this guy got radicalized, and he kidnapped his kids, and he brought them to it sounds like, if I've got my facts correct, to a polygamous prepper cult, basically. So it's end of the world prepper idea with polygamy thrown in there as well. And so the Amber Alert, sweet. Okay, I'm actually, despite my talking stuff, I'm pretty happy with my parking job here. I usually do not do that well. So let's take a look. Anyway, so he brought his kids. He had 2 daughters and 2 sons, and he brought them down, and then he was actually apprehended, and he refused to tell where the kids were, because he thought that they should stay with this cult. Anyway, they found the sons fairly quickly, but the daughters ended up when the police came looking, they hid the daughters. One of them got hid in a rain barrel, and one of them got hid in a in a trailer, like a cargo trailer, though. I think it might even have been like a shipping container type thing. Anyway, and they got left there overnight. Now, it's like below freezing here at nights, like in the teens Fahrenheit, or for those of you on Celsius, like -5, -10 Celsius at night right now. And she didn't have warm clothing or anything, and she got left out there. Anyway, they actually found 4 girls, 2 of whom belonged to him, and 2 of whom who did not. Okay, so my damage penalty was $7. Anyway, and so it circled back to this podcast I'm listening to about crazy cults and dangerous cults. I'm actually going to try something right here. I'm going to continue the stream, but I'm going to quit American Truck, and I'm going to switch over to the DualShock controller, and so I'm just going to stop my capture here for a minute. You'll see just a blank screen, but I'm going to try switching over to the DualShock controller, which means I've got to find the controller, which is here. And I've got to find a USB cable, which, there we go. Okay, so this should only take a minute. But I think the Xbox is interfering with my force feedback on my wheel. I think the Xbox controller is. So we're going to try this DualShock again and see if that fixes the problem, because it is throwing off my steering. And I can blame some of my driving mistakes on it. Not all of them. Many of them are just me, don't get me wrong. But I'm going to blame at least some of them on the fact that I don't have any force feedback going on right now. So, go ahead and bring that over here. Get this guy plugged in. Make sure Steam picks him up. Okay, Steam looks like it picked it up. I'll just double check. Excuse me. Close you. And if I go to the come on, controller configuration, there we go. Okay, so that looks good, and maybe I'll get my force feedback now. American Truck, go ahead and play that. Anyway, yeah, so there was crazy things happening here in my neck of the woods. It looks like they do have okay, my camera is still kind of crooked here. It looks like they have them all back in custody now, which is a good thing. Well, actually, I should rephrase that. It looks like they've found all the kids now. Sadly, this cult that he was a member of has some prophet who's, you know, prophesying impending doom and end of the world and everything else that's expected from a doomsday cult. And it reminds me of, you know, Heaven's Gate. It could very well go that way. I mean, if the guy calls some, you know, this is when it's going to happen, it doesn't happen, does it then go south? I really don't know. Okay, so I can drive either a Volvo 780 or a Peterbilt. I really think I want to drive the Peterbilt. It actually pays me a little bit more all in all. These Aerodyne super long. Anyway, so we're going to go with the Peterbilt 389 out of Roswell, and we're headed to Santa Fe. Where's Santa Fe, by the way? Because I do not know. Is this Santa Fe? Socorro, Almagoro, Las Cruces, Hobbs, Clovis. I should know. Oh, there it is. Okay. Santa Fe is way farther north than I ever thought it was. I wonder if I drove... Anyway, okay. So Roswell to Santa Fe. And a Peterbilt 389 with an 18 speed, huh? Okay. So first order of business is to get changed over to an 18 speed so that my layout's correct. And then I will get my seat adjusted so that I can see as much as possible. And then we will go from there. Anyway, so the thing that stands out though with this cult thing, so whether it's Heaven's Gate, whether it's the Manson family, sorry, I gotta listen to this. Or not. Did it? Okay. Is my configuration not what I think it is? U should be the E button, right? Options, controls. Okay, so that looks okay. Let's go ahead and change over to the 18 speed. And then I've got to go over to key binding and see why my engine's not starting. Engine brake, start, stop. That's exactly what it should be. Okay, we'll see what happens here. Is it going to start on me this time? I just don't have any sound for this truck. Oh, you know why I don't have any sound? I know why I don't have any sound. And you know what? I wonder if you guys have not had any sound this whole time. In which case, that sucks. I hate it when I do that. So if we come back over here, that's why I don't have any sound. And then I also need to double check this to make sure that the audio output, it's been on the right one. Okay, so I think we're probably good on that sound. Go back here, hit play again. Okay, sorry. Okay, we're getting there. And then, anyway, so the interesting thing with looking into the cults and stuff is everybody's susceptible. Like, you end up with all sorts of different people who sign up for these cults. It's not just one subset of people. It's I mean, in the case of Heaven's Gate, they were highly intelligent, educated, like middle-class people. In this case, it sounds like he wasn't so much, but I could just be basing that off of what I've seen, and maybe originally he was more so. You know, maybe he's not. I don't know. Marilyn Manson was, or not Marilyn Manson, the Manson family, Charles Manson was, there we go. Okay. Was, you know, a bunch of hippies for the most part. Like, not that hippies are unintelligent by any means. It's just, you know, the swath of people that get caught up in cults. There's no, oh, you know, you're susceptible to being a cult because of this. Like, it's something that we can all fall into. And that's the fascinating, but also, you know, more than a little bit scary part, is that anybody could. And so anyway, okay, apparently my accelerator was stuck on. Okay, so let's make sure I've got the layout I want here. Yeah, we're looking like an 18 speed. Okay, so I am going to be hauling this guy, a tractor, huh? I'm gonna come in from this side for this picture. And we'll go ahead and snap a picture real quick. I do want to look at something really fast, because my frame rate has been actually really good this time, and I'm a little bit tempted to see if I can bump it, because I think that the setting changes that I made to soft TH made a difference, and I'm wondering if I could actually bump things a little bit and still have, I mean, I've still got mostly high settings. Mirror quality, weather quality. I could maybe bump the scaling to like 125 or something and see if that makes a difference. I'm gonna go for 150. If it ends up being bad, then I can always drop it back, so. Come on. Yes, keep them. Okay. Okay, so let's go ahead and drive some truck. Oh, gotta reload the textures. Anyway, anybody follows, you know, these charismatic cult leaders who prey on people, they know how to do that. Like, they are good at doing that. It's not something that they do on accident. And it's not something, now, it may be something they learn as they go sometimes, but sometimes they don't. Like in the case of Marilyn Manson, he learned when he was in prison. Again, we could talk about sending people to prison and how that's not always a good thing. But he learned in prison how to manipulate women, how to find women that were vulnerable, and how to manipulate them into doing what he wanted them to do. So, you know, this thing where he went into prison, and he was not a good guy when he went to prison. I'm not claiming any such thing. Well, I do not have my force feedback back, so changing to the DualShock did not give me my force feedback. Anyway, he was not a good guy when he went into prison, and in no way do I want to claim that. But oh, I totally just cut him off. That was so close. I almost got in another accident just like last time. But going to prison taught him a lot of skills that he did not have before. He went to prison and he learned from pimps how to more effectively manipulate women and find women who are vulnerable, and look at that. And you know, maybe that's a skill that he wouldn't have gained. Now maybe it's a skill that he would have gained, but maybe that's a skill that he wouldn't have learned. Ah, dang it. Apparently there was a left turn only light. I just lost all my money from this delivery. So, and also I still cannot figure out why the GPS always sends me right on this one. And I never realize until I'm already making the turn that, oh, I didn't need to go right. I could have just gone straight, because it would have been easier. So I know that they now give you the option of different styles of GPS or different rules that the GPS follows, and maybe I need to tweak what mine's set to so that it does something different. But here in Roswell, well, it always sends me this way. Okay. Anyway, we're all susceptible, you know. These charismatic leaders do a good job at manipulating us, at getting us to do what they want us to do, and something we have to combat. In fact, listening to Waking Up recently, so I remember, frankly, I remember the original episode. Sam Harris had, no, wrong one, had Scott Adams on. Now, Scott Adams, for anybody that doesn't know, is the creator of Dilbert. He also has some really interesting ideas, and by interesting, I don't necessarily mean benign and interesting. But he wrote a book, and the book was called Winning Hugely, I think, is actually what the book's called. But the thing that the book is about, ooh, we can make this, is how Trump won the election and how he became president. And basically, it came down to that Trump was a master persuader. Now, that was his term. And when he first started talking, I was like, no, Trump is not a master persuader. Like, he's not intelligent enough to do that. But he is. And when I got away from that conversation, I decided, you know what, he is a master persuader. But I would actually qualify him or classify him as a master manipulator, which doesn't, you know, it's a choice of words. Maybe it's semantics, and maybe it doesn't make a difference. But I look at persuasion as a lesser thing. Like, you know, I'm trying to get you to. I'm showing you where you're thinking wrong, and I'm showing you alternative facts. Man, that does not. I'm showing you data. I'm, you know, doing that to convince you to change your mind. Whereas I see manipulation as, I don't know, emotional manipulation and the like, which is exactly what Scott Adams was saying for persuasion. That's how Trump persuades us as a nation, is that he may not be saying things that are technically true, but the way he said it was emotionally true. Like, it may not be true, but it agrees with my worldview type idea, which I completely and totally disagree with. And this is where I had a hard time with Scott Adams. As I listened to this interview, he just, he made me ragey. Like, it was bad. And the reason being that he felt like this was a good thing. He felt like lying and manipulating emotions to get someone to see the way you want them to see is a good thing. And I just see that as like a lack of ethics and manipulation. I mean, that's what it is. And that's not something that is laudable in my book. Now, I mean, some people's books it may be, but in my book it is not. And so as I learned about Charles Manson here and the Manson family, again, I didn't know a whole lot before. What I quickly came to realize is that he was a master manipulator, or as Scott Adams might have said, a master persuader. I don't like that term. I think manipulator is a good term, and a better term in this case. But Manson was a master manipulator, both of men and women. Early on, he was better at manipulating women, but later on, you know, he manipulated men and stuff. And so it just, this idea that just because you can doesn't mean that you should. And so oftentimes cults or cult leaders or cult founders specifically find a certain subgroup of people that they can prey upon, and they do so. Now, I do think that sometimes cult leaders actually believe their own bullshit, and maybe they don't in the beginning. Maybe they convince themselves by the end. So I think that there's a certain point, and I don't know if all cult leaders are this way, but at least a certain number of cult leaders who at one point or another believe their bullshit. And a good example of the difference is a cult leader who's actually willing to die for what he preaches. Charles Manson. I keep saying Marilyn Manson. Charles Manson is alive in prison, right? He got other people to do his stuff, but the idea was so that he didn't have to. The guy, Doe, I can't think of his real name. In Heaven's Gate, there were two founders. There were their new names that they got as part of the cult were T and Doe. Oh, I put on a mod is darker shadows, and so it makes it darker at night. And that's why it's so like there's nothing on the side mirrors except for my marker lights and stuff. That's why it seems so dark. Not necessarily a bad thing, but that's the change. Anyway, T and Doe were the founders of Heaven's Gate, and in the early 90s, T died of cancer. I believe. Oh. And so Doe was left behind to please pull in the way station. Okay, so that's on the left side. Anyway, T died, leaving Doe behind to lead the group. And in the end, do I have I don't have a light. Okay. In the end, he led them to commit mass suicide, himself included. So I would argue that he actually believed what he was teaching, right? He wasn't just, I mean, maybe he was just really depressed at the end, and I'm not seeing enough options here. But I would argue that the fact that he committed suicide is a pretty good indication that he believed what he was selling. Gross weight 29 tons. That's actually pretty light. Oh, it's only 11 ton. Okay, no wonder it's been fairly easy to get up to speed and stuff. Anyway, so the fact that he was willing to commit suicide with his followers makes me think that he was probably at least somewhat bought into it. At some point, maybe he didn't in the beginning, but at some point during everything, he started to believe, or he was convinced, and maybe he was convinced in the beginning. The podcast talked about that he always, before T died, he was the lesser, and she was the prophet. He was her interpreter, or something to that effect. And so he believed. At some point, he believed. He was willing to lead his followers, not just have them do it, but actually lead his followers into committing suicide, which points to a belief, right? You're not gonna kill yourself if you don't actually believe that there's a spaceship coming to pick you up. You might get other people to do it, but I would argue that, sorry, Copper, you might get other people to do it, but I don't think you're going to do it yourself if you don't actually drink the Kool-Aid, which, is a reference back to Heaven's Gate. But if you're not willing to drink the Kool-Aid, then you probably have doubts. And, well, if you're the leader of a cult, convincing everybody else, that this is 100% legitimate, and you have doubts, then maybe you ought to rethink being the leader of this cult. So this podcast that I'm listening to has a whole ton more episodes. And again, I only just barely listened to the first 2 episodes, which are the Manson family. And the next one was, I don't remember. Anyway, they just came out with a new one this week, which is especially interesting to me because it's the FLDS. Now, I mentioned earlier Mormonism. I was raised Mormon. I am no longer. But the FLDS is an offshoot of mainstream Mormonism. And it started back in the early or late 1900s, early 20th century, when polygamy was being phased out. Then some people felt that it shouldn't be phased out. It was an eternal doctrine. It shouldn't go away. And so there were a bunch of splinter groups that actually popped off who continued to practice polygamy. And I don't know the history all that well. I'm going to butcher it a little bit here if I try and go too in depth on it. But there were a bunch of different offshoot groups. There's the AUB, which is the Apostolic United Brethren. There's the Kingston Clan, which is a nickname actually for a group of them. There's a bunch of different ones. There was the LeBaron group. There's but one of the biggest, or I would say the biggest, polygamous offshoot is the FLDS, or the Fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And so they've got, on this podcast that I've been listening to, they have the most recent ones are on the FLDS. So that's actually something that will be really interesting for me, I think, and I'm looking forward to. Now the problem is I've got a lot of podcasts to go through before then. But so this guy that I mentioned, I don't know, 15 minutes ago now, who kidnapped his children that he didn't have custody of and took them to a polygamous prepper cult. These were not a part of the FLDS. Oops. They're what are considered independent. Fundamentalist Latter-day Saints are independent polygamists, where they're not really a member of any of the large offshoots, but they still practice polygamy. And in this case, they were also preppers. And I don't know. It sounds like they were pretty in depth. And the sad part is that this guy who initially was a member of a much more mainstream religious group got sucked in, and from what I can gather, it ruined it ruined his marriage, and I think that the lady was really smart to get out of that, and it has now put him in jail, and could also, I mean, he already didn't have custody of his kids, but the likelihood of gaining custody of his kids after something like this is very, very low. And anyway, the authorities in the area are now afraid that, well, maybe there's other kids. You know, they found 2 kids that weren't his, that they didn't even know that were there. I think they had been reported missing, but they didn't have any reason at the time to associate him with this group. And so now they're wondering, well, what if there are more that are missing that are in the, you know, same idea, that are also missing, and we just don't realize that this is where they are after the abhorrent conditions that they found this little girl in. Ooh, I almost forgot to turn there. Sorry, I've got a long trailer here, dude. Anyway, so they've got, you know, this girl who was kept in a water barrel overnight without any warm clothing in 10-degree Fahrenheit, 15-degree Fahrenheit, -5 Celsius or something like that weather, and she was dehydrated. She hadn't had anything to eat or drink in like 24 hours or something like that. Like it was bad. She had to they had to life flight them and everything. And so here you have these people that they did find that were in this situation. But what about any children who were there that they haven't found? I mean, how bad could it be for those kids? So anyway, as I learn more and more about different destructive cults, it's eye-opening, and just kind of blows my mind, like how many people, even in the modern day, like, I mean, we've got the internet, we've got, you know, information at everybody's fingertips, assuming net neutrality doesn't fail, and yet we still have people who just fall into these things that should be a relic of a previous century, you know. I mean, they should have gone away with the information age, but they don't. And that's partly because rather than preying on intellect and whatnot, it's preying on emotion. It's preying on, you know, the same things that, especially in this case with the preppers, conspiracy theories push, right? You know, the same thing that causes conspiracy theories to not go away. It's always a new conspiracy theory. That this is the same thing that gets members to join cults. Let's slow down a bit here. And And you and I are susceptible. If we don't watch ourselves, we too are susceptible to it. I mean, it's not something that we're immune to. And anyway, oh, what was the one? There was one that I was just... Oh, my wife was reading a thing about some cult in Sedona that I originally started up in Buffalo, New York. No, Boulder, Colorado, and now it's in Sedona, Arizona. But it's like a combination of a cult and a startup Silicon Valley style thingy, you know, like it's they hear their jargon and everything. It was just blowing my mind that was the one, not the Heaven's Gate. This one specifically targets like highly educated, like, I don't know, type people where, you know, it preys on them. And there's always another group that someone's willing to prey on. Man, this is kind of a low-geared truck, and I better not ride this copper here. I mean, I'm doing like 65 and pushing more RPMs than I would like to. Anyway, there's always another group that's willing to take on something else, and I feel like, going back a few ideas here, that's exactly how people like Donald Trump come to lead the richest, most powerful country in the world. I mean, we have a significant subset of our population that prides themselves on not being educated. Like that's a... Oh, I lost some frames there. That's a what's the word? Attribute that is seen as a good thing. Come on. Okay, we stop. Rather than something that should be remedied, and it's actually seen as laudable. You know, not knowing, not expanding the amount of information is actually seen as a good thing. Come on. And so when you have an opinion like that that's being touted to a significant subset of our country, then how do you combat something like Trump's campaign, which was completely and totally based off this idea of emotional truth? Like, I identify with him, so I'm going to trust him whether he's telling the truth or not. So is this fast track? No, it's a little bit farther up. Okay. Anyway, so whether he's telling the truth or not, I'm going to believe him. You know? Okay, so it looks like this is the place. Okay. Go ahead. I've got to swing it wide here. Ah. So anyway, so there's a, you know, when you have a subset of the population, at least, now it's not all of the population, that just prides themselves on not knowing stuff, like not, and I am not going to make that, am I?
Said, hello.
Hey Gabriel Sardas, welcome to the stream. I am not going to make that. Okay. I'm about to make my delivery here, and I may actually call it quits after that, but... Anyway, when you have a bunch of people who actually pride themselves on the fact that they are uneducated, then how do you get education to overcome it? Like, how do you do that? No, we're going to go all the way here. This is probably going to be a disaster, but we're going to go all the way on this. I know you want to come through. I gotta... Come on. Am I going to be able to pull that through there? I'm able to stall, that's for sure. Oh, you know what? I can hit my crawler here, huh? Nope, not you. You. We're gonna make it. We made it. Whoa. Okay. So, I've got to take a significant look at this. This is only like the second time I've delivered at this location. And it looks like the best thing to do is probably to pull up all the way into there and then just back it all the way around, which is not nearly as easy as I just said it. I am not the best at backing up. I'm trying to get better, which is why I continue to do it even when it looks insanely hard. But we'll see how this actually goes. Anybody who wants to back up, I suggest going and finding Squirrel's videos where he gives instructions on how to back up. And since I'm still in the learning phase here, I am actually going to use cheater mode, and I'm going to go with this view, because this is a really hard parking job. And if I don't do this, I am almost definite sure I'm not going to get it. One of the advantages here is you can think more what you're doing with the trailer than what you're doing with your truck. Which is where I always get messed up. But especially on something like this where visibility is so poor, with such a long trailer in such a tight area, and I am not... Okay, we're going to pull forward here. Well, Gabriel, thanks for joining the chat, or the chat and the stream. It's always nice to have somebody on board. I've mostly been talking about Colts this evening, partly because of podcasts I've been listening to, and partly because of news things that have been happening in my area. Actually, I'm in southern Utah, and there's definitely a problem with that down where I am. So, and I'm not going to make this. Nope, and I hit. Okay, let's try this again. So I think I might need to get in here closer. That's probably what my problem is. So let's get closer to start with. Oh, other way. Okay. Okay, let's go ahead and back it up. Oh, kill the engine.
Matty Fines said, "Hey, you have a really calming voice, and I like it."
Well, thank you. I will say part of that. I won't blame it all, but I used to use a microphone here on my headset back when I very first started trying to stream or anything like that, which, with my number of videos, doesn't seem that long ago. But I will say that a high quality microphone makes a big difference. I picked up a Blue Yeti about 6 months ago, and what I quickly found was that a lot of the lower notes had been lost on the headset microphone. So for a normal, gaming use or whatever, I actually use a SteelSeries 350 as my headset here, and I'm actually pretty impressed with the audio quality of it, but the microphone quality, after getting a real microphone, the Blue Yeti is actually what I use, made a huge difference on the quality of the audio. I mean, it was just night and day. And so when I go back and listen to some of my early videos where I was not using the Blue Yeti, okay, we've got it. I'm really struggling here. I'm not sure what's the best thing to do to get it around where I need it to be. Anyway, the Blue Yeti and the higher quality output that it does makes all the difference in the world. I kind of hate to go back and listen to what it sounded like on the cheaper one. I'm not going to make this. Anybody that knows how to back up better than I do, I'm going to have to move forward a little. Pointers are welcome is what I was about to say. Anyway, so this news thing that I was talking about, or I should say, going back to Colts, this idea that like anybody's susceptible to Colts. Like we like to think that we're not, and I like to think that I'm not. Maybe I should qualify by saying that. I like to think that I'm beyond that. That I've made a lot of progress, and I will say that not that long ago in my past, as I look back, I would consider myself a lot more susceptible to Colts, and specifically even to dangerous Colts. And I'm not going to make this. I'm totally not going to make this, but we're gonna keep trying. Anyway. Highly susceptible, and there are definitely things you can do, and we are up against the wall now, to be less susceptible. And I think looking into epistemology is one way to do that. Epistemology is Hey Dion Brunner, welcome to the stream. And I also saw that Maddie Fintz hopped on a little bit ago, and got me talking about microphones for a second there. But welcome to the stream. I am here. I am not awesome at backing up. I've been watching some of, or I watched Squirrel's truck driving classes, truck driving school, and that helped a lot on my technique, but I still actually... Sweet, thanks for subscribing.
Thanks for following.
Thanks for subscribing, Dion. I have been... I keep trying to practice my backing capabilities, and I am getting better. I used to...
It's okay.
I used to do a lot more of really just back and forth, trying to get it where I wanted it to go, and with the shorter, the cab over trucks in Euro truck, that works a little better. But with these long nose trucks in American truck, it does not work. And so I think I am actually getting it around there where I want it here. I'm going to bring it around just a bit more and then keep going straight back. Anyway, one of the things that Squirrel teaches is, hard turns, and then when you think, hard turns and then straight, and then hard turns and then straight. Don't sit there and do a little bit here and a little bit there, back and forth.
I love this video.
Cool, thanks, Dion. And I have been doing a whole lot better on my backing since I started doing that. I used to just kind of back and forth with the wheel, trying to get it where I wanted. This has helped a lot. Okay, we're going to straighten out a little bit. So hard crank it that way. In fact, we're going to go a little bit farther. We are going to do this. It might take a little bit still, but that way. I need to straighten the trailer out a little bit. I'm trying to follow those little tracks right there. Anyway, this is not my truck. I don't have a problem with this truck, but I'm actually doing an economy mod. So if you look at my money up here, I've got all of $2,800. And that's mainly not just because I'm a horrible driver, that's part of it. But the economy mod only gives me $100 to $150 per delivery. So in the stock game, usually deliveries get you multiple thousands of dollars, even fairly early in the game.
How are you? I meant.
I'm doing great, Dion. I haven't streamed in a while now, and it's kind of fun to do. I usually don't have many people hop on, but I haven't streamed in a while. I've actually been busy with work and a short vacation that I recently took. but I thought I would hop on tonight and see if I could do a little bit, and I am up against there. I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. The only, if you look back at the beginning, I actually had a lot of technical troubles tonight trying to get things running.
Said, blindside backing is really difficult. It's also dangerous in real life.
Yes.
At work, and I never ever blindside back. I have noticed that this game likes to make you do it frequently.
Yes, they do. And I think Euro Truck does it even more. But American Truck, especially, I mean, this venue here is probably the worst on it. But blindside backing is really difficult. Hence my doing it from the front here. And part of that is, as I go along, I hope to get better and do less from the outside. And I am going into it not quite steep enough. So we're going to stop here and we're going to pull forward just a bit. And then we're going to go steeper into it. And I think I'm probably getting my truck too far around here now. There we go. Ah, I hit and killed my truck. Right? Yep, killed the truck. Okay. You know what? We're going to take another take it. We're going to do another run at this because we're going to pull forward a little bit. We're going to go straight forward here, give ourselves plenty of room. And then we are going to... Oh, that's first, not reverse. Well, looks like you're a trucker in real life. That's awesome. One of the things I've actually really enjoying for my immersion is I picked up this guy, which is made from the Eaton Fuller shift knob. And it's actually made by a company called Tech Affliction. And it's called the Mega Shifter. They actually just came out with another version. So this is not an actual Eaton Fuller branded knob.
Said, do you have GTA 5?
I do not. I have actually not played GTA since, let's see, that would have been on the PlayStation 2. So that's actually the last time I ever played a GTA. And that may have been the original GTA. I'm not even certain at this point. Ah, dang it. Okay. I'm in here too steep again. I do not have GTA 5. In fact, the games that I generally play, well, generally, very generally, Euro Truck Simulator 2 I play, and actually I played quite a bit. Okay, I gotta pull out of here. I'm getting confused. Sorry.
I play GTA 5 online.
Cool. I don't necessarily have a problem with GTA 5. Again, I've never played it. But what I end up doing here with American Truck and with Euro Truck is it's kind of my way to relax out at the end of the day. And I like that they're just kind of low-key. And so I end up coming in and playing, and for the most part, you know, except for when I have accidents or whatever, it's a fairly low-key experience. But that having been said, I did recently play through Rise of the Tomb Raider, which I wouldn't necessarily consider a relaxing experience per se. But that was a great game and I enjoyed it thoroughly. And anyway, so that was fun. And then I used to play, and I haven't in a long time, one of the games I used to really enjoy was actually Silent Hunter 5, which, if you're not familiar with the Silent Hunter series, is a Silent Hunter 5 specifically is a World War II submarine simulator. And there's actually a really big modding community with that, just like there is on these games. I might make it here. Man, this is so tight. I might make it here. Okay. Anyway, it's a World War II submarine simulator, which maybe I just am kind of a simulator junkie, I guess, and I got it. Dang. And I used to play that a lot more, but I haven't played it in a while. And then my kids and I recently discovered Cave Blazers. I don't know if you've ever played Cave Blazers, but it's just kind of a retro-styled I don't know, platform jumping, and I'm hitting still. What am I hitting? I mean, obviously I'm really close, but I think that I should not be hitting. Okay, we're gonna make this. Anyway, and we actually discovered that a couple of weekends ago when my kid was sick.
Said, I have never heard of a company making neat and full of shift knobs. I have the SKRS CSIO Tech knob, which is what I assumed is what you are using.
Yeah, no, it's actually similar to CSIO's SKRS, and if you want to hear me rant about CSIO, then we could do it again, or I've got another video where that's pretty much all I do. But basically, I ordered a CSIO SKRS, and I waited and I waited, and then I tried to contact them, and I didn't hear from them, and I eventually took it a lot farther than that, which was sad. I actually did. I've done Better Business Bureau complaints, and I finally just told my bank to reverse the charge. And after months of not getting anything out of them, I think that their product is probably just fine, but I feel like they've really messed up on the business side of things. And so this is called the Mega Shifter, the one I have here. And basically it's the same idea. The sounds, now some of it could be marketing hype, but it does sound like they've made some improvements on the original design, using a Hall effect sensor instead of a potentiometer, I think is one of the differences, which should actually last longer. But mainly I couldn't get I ordered it and I couldn't get it. I ordered it actually back in August, and after 6 weeks of waiting and not hearing anything, and the worst part really was that I tried contacting them and had no luck. So I found this in the meantime, and I decided, well, you know, I didn't have the money right then to order a second one since I'd already sucked my money out of the account. And so after 6 months of waiting, then not 6 months, sorry, after about 2.5 months of waiting, I ordered this guy, and I called my bank and said, hey, reject the charge. I didn't get my screenshot soon enough. And so they did. I'm pretty sure it's done at this point. There was kind of like there's a 100-day waiting period in which they could say, well, we tried to deliver it or contest it. And that is not up yet, but I'm pretty sure I'm in the clear at this point. In the meantime, this one, so my SKRS that I ordered was going to be about $155, I think, with shipping. This one ended up being about $185. Now it does have, if you look over here, it does have the Easy Jake, and then obviously the range selector and the drew a blank range selector and splitter. Splitter selector right there, but it's basically the same thing as the SKRS, except that the company's actually responding. They're responsive. I had mine within 4 weeks, and I do think in some ways it's a better setup. One of the differences is, ignore the mess here, but it's actually got the cable that comes down here, and the Arduino, which controls it, is actually over here, and it's in its separate thing, which has this cool 3D printed Tech Affliction thing. Anyway, but whereas with the SKRS, they actually embed that up inside the shifter, which I've heard people have had problems with that. I don't know personally, that's just what I've heard.
Massive finds. Said, nice. I thought about the Easy Jake for a while, but I have a custom button box that I made and it's not totally necessary.
Cool, yeah.
I'll get it eventually.
Yeah, the custom box, that's awesome. I don't have that. I've got a DualShock 4 controller that I map a bunch of stuff to. Engine starts, all that stuff. My retarder's here on the left stick. But Tech Affliction is also coming out, and this may be interesting. I totally sound like a Tech Affliction shill, but I'm not. They're not paying me anything. This is free advertising for them, I guess. They're also coming out with a turn signal. He actually has taken, Paul's the guy's name, he's actually taken a turn signal out of a Chevy pickup, and he's making an adapter for it right now. That's kind of where he's hung up right now, is getting an adapter, and it will connect here to the left of the steering wheel, and it's got cruise control, it's got the shifter, and I think it might even have light controls as well, for brights and stuff. Anyway, but it's actually out of a Chevy S10, not a Chevy S10, a Chevy Silverado.
Said, that sounds amazing. I would love a legitimate turn signal.
Yes, I actually, if I've trucked too much, I get in my truck and in my car, and I start paddle shifting or trying to paddle shift to turn my turn signals, and then it messes me up. But yeah, so it's a legitimate turn signal. I think if I remember right, it's going to be something like $200. But I'm excited, saving my pennies. That's going to be an awesome addition, and actually would get rid of, because then I could take a lot of what's mapped here. This is my cruise control. This is my turn signals.
Said, haha, I've done the same with the pedals in my IRL car.
Yes, that's when you know you've been trucking too long in your fake car, huh? Or in your fake truck. I also, I don't have a manual transmission. I've also done the pulling up to a stop and clutch to stop, and I don't have a clutch. I don't usually do it on the start out, but sometimes on the stop I will, which I've done before when I had an automatic and a manual both, you know, do it that way. But if I've been trucking for a little while, then sometimes I'll do that. I'll just slam the clutch down, which doesn't exist when I come for a stop. So we'll go ahead and do one more delivery, I think, tonight. I was thinking about calling it, but since I've actually got some people going here, we'll go for another delivery. I just delivered in Santa Fe, and so I'd like to start there. I don't have my own truck, and I think I mentioned before, I don't know if everybody was on at that point, I'm doing an economy mod, so I don't get money very quickly, and I actually don't get to take out a loan until like level 8 or something. So I have to just do quick jobs, which gives me a chance to drive different trucks and stuff. So we've got a heavy haul, 59 tons. We could do that one, and go from Santa Fe to Gallup, or we could do a Santa Fe to Tucumcari, which is cars, lightweight, day cab. That one would be fairly simple. Or I'm leaning towards the top one here. It definitely pays the most, and for that reason, especially with the economy mod, every penny helps. So I think I'm going to go to that. If anybody has any input, welcome to put it in. But I think if I don't get any input, we'll go ahead and do the lift truck for 59 tons, so 118,000 pounds, going from Santa Fe to Gallup, New Mexico. We will have a 625 horsepower W900 with an Eaton Fuller 18 speed, which is nice because I've actually got Eaton Fuller 18 set up, so I won't have to change that. But if there's no objections, that's what I think I'm going to go ahead and sign up for. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I will take silence as agreement, and we will take the job. Okay. So this one I'm going to have to be a lot more careful on. Now, one thing I'm running into is, for some reason, my force feedback on my wheel is not working. And so it's making it really hard to judge my corners. I haven't had this happen before today. I don't know. I did just get a slight update to ATS today. So that is a slight change, but I doubt that would have affected it. I've tried looking at the settings and haven't had any luck. So if anybody has any input as to why my, or if anybody else is having similar problems, I thought at first that it was my Xbox controller interfering, but I don't think that's the case anymore. So I've got the triple screen set up, so I like to try and get it as much as possible where I'm not going to have to look around, which often means I have to sit back farther than I probably would in a real vehicle, but such is life, I guess, c'est la vie. And then I usually try and lower down just a little bit and angle down just a little bit in order to get my GPS on screen. Actually, we're going to go up one and down one, as well as my speedometer and my tachometer. So since I don't have my own truck, I have to do that every time, because it resets me. Anyway, looks like we are going to be exiting to, oh, right there in front of, no, where's our exit here? Oh, okay. Oh, so I'm starting, I'm right where I left off, except I'm pulling the other trailer. Luckily, getting out is easier than getting in. Okay, so I want to snap a screenshot here, because this is by far my heaviest haul, but I don't want to go all the way into camera mode, so we're just going to do that. Screenshot it that way, and let's get on the road here. We'll go ahead and just start out in one low. It's even like right there without the, oh, I killed it. Without the force feedback, I turn the wheel a lot faster than I ought to, because there's nothing telling me not to. And that's the end of it. I'm just going to run into the wall there. So Maddie, what is it? Maddie Fence. Maddie, you're a trucker in real life, and you were mentioning that blind backing is actually really dangerous in real life, and that you don't do it often. In general, I take it that you do non-blindside. I'm not sure what that's called. I know it's blindside, but I don't know what the other is. If you get in a situation where you have to do blindside, I mean, I guess there's no way around that. But is that an abnormal situation in that case? Are most drops set up so that you can go straight, or at least do a near side? Near side, that's what it's called. Or at least do a near side drop. Okay, we're gonna go wide here, because this is one of those ultra long trailers. And then it looks like we're gonna be hanging a right. So I'm gonna want to get to the right of the opening if I can, but if I get too far to the right, then I'm just gonna end up. Okay. Also, one of the things I wish they'd implement is some kind of a pilot car that would get out there and say, hey, you know, stop traffic, because getting out in traffic with these ultra long trailers can be really...
Said, yeah, usually it's not really a minefield in a company lot. I actually don't deliver to places. I only move trucks within my own company parking lot.
Gotcha. Okay, question there. So you can hear me grinding the gears just a little bit now. I think that's, you know, sometimes unavoidable, although I do try and pay attention to my revs so that doesn't happen so much. Would you say that floating gears is more difficult in-game or in real life? I mean, I floated gears in, like, you know, my pickup or whatever when I was younger. My dad taught me how to do that, but they were all synchronized gears. Dang. Okay. I kind of overrolled that one a bit. But would you, because obviously there's no force feedback on the shifter, so you just, you know, they use sounds to try and represent that. Is it a fairly good option there, or do you think that it, I mean, it works for me. I miss gears sometimes, so I don't. If we go off that, I mean, at least it gets me into the gears without clutching. But is it any kind of an accurate representation? And on that note, if you wanted to say, so like I'm hauling pretty heavy, so at this point I'm probably going to start splitting gears. But I know I've read a lot of things where truckers say, well, I only really split, you know, 8th gear. I don't really split any of the earlier ones. I guess if you're mostly moving around inside your company lot, you're probably not splitting much. You're probably staying in the lower range most of the time, at least. But I find it interesting to get input from, I guess, real truckers and finding out, you know, well, I mean, one of the things is most people over rev. Man, this is heavy. I got to remember it's heavy. Most people over rev. You know, 1500 is about as high as you want to go most of the time. Although it does seem, just reading specs and stuff on trucks and doing what research I can, because I am not a commercial driver, that when Jake braking to slow down, then it seems to be okay to go higher, like, you know, maybe 2300 RPM. Whereas when you're accelerating, you should be shifting up, you know, at about 1500 RPM. But maybe you can shift down in such a way that it goes to like 22, 23.
Clutching gears is heavily frowned upon, at least from my teachers. It's not good to shift gears without the clutch.
I have seen that from in every driving school, and even if you go to like the manuals for the transmissions and stuff, they say, you know, don't float. You're supposed to clutch, double clutch all the time. And obviously on European trucks, that's the way they do it. They're synchro meshed trannies, and so they do clutch all the time. I actually haven't been able to decide whether they double clutch. I actually am not sure if the European trucks need double clutching because they're synchro meshed, or if that's just something you get with the non-synchro.
Said, I'm not saying that people can't do it well, but you will run into maintenance problems, I'm sure.
I agree, and I think what I've seen a lot is that the people, you know, who are experienced truckers say, well, once you're good at it, then it's not a big deal. There was one guy I was watching in particular who had, you know, 1 million miles on his transmission, and he'd floated almost exclusively, you know, obviously on there are some times when it pays to throw in the clutch and stuff, but he'd almost exclusively floated gears, and he's, you know, 1 million miles on his transmission. So but I have also read a lot of things that, oh, and I'm totally over revving, that if you're new, for new drivers especially, that it really pays to double clutch in the beginning and maybe learn to float later. I've also heard people say that almost all fleets will tell you not to double
Official
clutch.
Aviator said, I'm not saying that people can't do it well, but you will run into maintenance problems, I'm sure. Official Aviator said, hello.
Hey, welcome to the stream, Official
Massive
Aviator.
Fines said, also, in the 8 months that I drove on the road, I only split the last gear.
So you just go all the way to
Official
8?
Aviator said, can you help me on American? Official Aviator said, so when?
Can I help you on an American? What do you want help with?
Official Aviator said, what are the buttons for signal lights when turning?
You know, for me, and that's really going to depend on where you map them. I don't know what you're playing with. I've got the G920, so I use my paddle shifters for turn signals. If I were just using a gamepad or something, I'm not actually sure what I would map them to, because one of the problems you run into just using a gamepad is you quickly run out of
Official Aviator said,
quickly run out of buttons. You quickly run out of buttons when using just a gamepad. Now, I was noticing, oh, I need to go over one more, that Steam allows you to do multiple layers of buttons, so you can have one button that modifies other buttons. So you could do something like, you know, do a modified shoulder would then be your turn signals. That would be one option, and that's what I looked at doing. I was like, well, if I were to try and map dual layers or something, how would I do it? And I'm not sure what the answer to that is. I actually bought a steering wheel fairly early on when buying American Truck, and I've said multiple times with American Truck Simulator and European Truck Simulator both, the game is kind of, at least for me, has been the free puppy.
Said, is there like a control panel, or where it shows you all the controls?
Yes. So I'll show you that right now. I'm not sure what I think I just kicked on the trailer brakes or something, hopefully. Anyway, so if you come in here, then you can go into options and keys, and you can remap everything you want right here. So for instance, if you look at my turn signal, where's my turn signal? Indicator left and right. That's farther up. Dang. It's here somewhere. Oh, left turn indicator. I've actually got mine set to bracket and bracket, and then I have the Logitech software mapping that to my paddles. That way, whenever I change to a new profile, I don't have to remap all the buttons. Most of them are preset. And I'm not sure what I'm getting into here. Okay, that was just my retarder. Apparently I have a retarder. That's good to know. I guess I should have looked into that.
Official aviator said, I just bought the pack today, but I have been playing on the game for a couple of weeks on my brother's account.
Cool. It's a great game. Like I said, what I found for me is it's the free puppy.
Official aviator said, how do you get a lot of oversized load trucks and trailers?
You'll have to buy the well, there's two ways. Okay, we got to engine brake it here. We are not going to make this. Oh, damn. That was bad. You can all laugh now. Man. There's actually a DLC for oversized loads, which is where I got this one. This is part of the DLC oversized load, and I'm not sure how expensive that one is, but the DLC does it. There's also some mods like Jazzy Cat mods that will include some heavier ones, like the last load I carried.
Said, it's okay, I can't laugh cause I am a noob. It's like $2. Official aviator said, it came in a pack for me.
Yes. See, and I got mine in a pack originally. I actually got into American Truck Simulator later. I'd been playing Euro Truck for quite a long time, and I need a lower gear. Just a sec. I gotta hit a lower gear here. And so I'd actually been playing Euro Truck Simulator, and I got into American Truck later and was able to get a pack of them as well. And so that's definitely the way to go. Although when I originally got American Truck, I actually got it off Humble Bundle, and I think I got it for $10 at the time, along with a bunch of other games, and that's actually where I found Cave Blazer as well, and that's a different game. Anyway, this is a great game. One of the things you'll want to do as you look into it and as you get into expansions is the mods. The mods are huge. Just go, even if you just use the mods that are there in Steamworks, there are lots of mods that are outside of Steamworks, but there are lots of mods there in Steamworks, and they do all kinds of things, from adding trucks to changing physics. For instance, I'm using a physics mod right now, which is part of the reason I think the truck just ran away from me.
Said, do you prefer American Truck Simulator or Euro?
You know, that's an interesting question. I go back and forth. I've been playing American Truck more recently, although I did just barely buy the Italian DLC for Euro Truck. So after a night, I'll probably be going back to Euro Truck for a little bit. And in a lot of ways, I like Euro Truck better. And part of that is I've actually spent some time in Europe, and so it's kind of fun to go over there and drive for that reason. I also do think I prefer clutching instead of floating, which I could clutch here in American Truck, so that's not a deal breaker. But the other one is there are a lot more mods available for Euro Truck, and if you get Euro Truck, I would suggest looking into Pro mods.
Thanks for following.
Yeah, you should go. If you get into Euro Truck Simulator, look into Pro mods, because they have the vanilla game, right? So the game Euro Truck started with like Germany and France and stuff, and those areas are kind of not nearly as detailed, kind of like California is in an American Truck, where it just isn't developed as well. But Pro mods takes those areas and makes them a lot better. It also expands all kinds of other areas. There's also Rus maps, which goes all the way out into Russia, places I've never driven, even though I always put on Rus maps and Pro mods. There are areas I've never even come close to being to. So we're in high gear. Anyway, so that's American Truck doesn't have nearly as much road. That's the biggest downfall to American Truck right now, is there's just not as much, you know, you've got California, Arizona, and New Mexico.
I don't play ATS 2, but I think it's probably slightly better since it's more of a completed game experience.
It is, Maddie, although the graphics are better on ATS, because it's kind of the same game engine, but they've tweaked it a little bit for ATS, and so the graphics end up being a little bit better on ATS. But ETS 2 is a more complete game. It really is. I mean, on the stock game, you've got France and Germany and the Netherlands and part of Spain. Now you've got Italy. You've got up Scandinavia. Whereas with American Truck, you've really just got 3 states. And the 3 states are done well. And there's no complaints there. But there's not nearly as many places to drive. Whereas ETS 2... Especially if you get pro mods and roost maps, you'll never run out of places to go. There's always new road to go. Oh, apparently I'm cutting the people off here on the left. I'm not hugging my line well enough, and they're not able to pass me. So I keep forgetting that I've kind of got a wide truck here. One of the things I do like better, well, it's different. I don't know as I like it better, but you've got the heavy haul DLC in both sides. And the heavy haul DLC in American Truck, and I'm actually going to pause this here and show this instead of just saying it. We're going to go to Photo Studio. And if you go here to photo mode, if we look at my heavy DLC truck here, or my load, I've got this whole, like, 2 different... I'm not sure what these are called, dollies or whatever. So it comes off and it does a dolly that it connects to, and you've got kind of the same setup at the back. And what that makes it do is it makes it really hard to back up, because you very quickly get into weird situations. And on European Truck Simulator, instead of that, they actually have steerable axles that kind of follow you, and it takes some getting used to because they kind of steer weird. Okay, we have got to get over. And I'm totally going to cut this truck off. Yep, I totally cut him off. Anyway, and so instead of... Oh, and I've got a retarder. That's right.
Aviator said, I really do not want to do mods on the game because I get viruses.
Do the Steamworks mods.
Said, I just noticed your information bar on the top. Is it a new option or is it a mod?
It's a mod. It's a great mod. I need to get to where I have all of my mods linked so people can see.
Said, I trust Steam.
Yes, and that's where I would go. If you're unsure of the mods, start with Steam, because there are tons of mods on Steam anyway, and so you can do Steam mods without ever looking at the possibility of viruses. There are some mods that are not available on there, but I would say that most of the mods I run are. The biggest ones you'll miss out on is the Jazzy Cat mods. They're not available on Steam, but most of the other ones I use are. This information bar up here is... It's one from Steam, and they've actually got a version that's on the bottom of the screen and a version that's on the top of the screen. I prefer the top. I've tried the bottom. It works great as well, but it makes it where I have to spend a whole lot less time looking at that guy, right? And so it's got your estimated time of arrival, the time, how tired you are, how much fuel you have, what gear you're in, how fast you're going, all that stuff.
Said, you have a very nice setup for simulator games.
Thank you. I've tried to say a couple of times. Sorry, wide turn here. And apparently that is going down. Sorry, I'm talking really loud now. I just ran into the train stop. Anyway, ATS and ETS2 have almost been the free puppy, right? And what I mean by that is you get a free puppy, but then you have to feed it, you have to take care of it, you've got medical costs, whatever else. And so the free puppy isn't the real cost. I've spent, I don't know, between ETS2 and ATS, probably $100 on the game itself, right? Between DLCs and everything else coming along. And apparently, man, I did not watch that nearly as close as I should have.
Said, wow.
But here's the thing, so I spent about $100 on the games, but the steering wheel is $300. And then obviously I've got a triple screen set up, so that's not cheap. And then the Eden Fuller shift knob I have here, that was $185. So I would guess that, and my wife shakes her head all the time.
627. Thanks for following.
And
Aviator said, my dad has the same setup for his work.
yeah, and actually this is my work machine. That's actually partly why I have it as nice as I do, is because this is I do work from home, so this is my work machine as well. And so the monitors are kind of, you know, not necessarily a part of the cost here. But all in all, just to play ATS and ETS2, I've probably spent $500 in components. Yeah, and so I probably got $500 in components on top of the cost of the game. And so that's where the free puppy comes in.
Said, it's been a few months since I've played ATS. Is the train vanilla? Last time I played, I think it was only then engine and no train cars.
Gotcha. I don't have any train mods on. I do have lots of other mods, but that was a stock train. It looks like we're coming up on our delivery here. And I am cutting you off here.
Said, do you have any tips for me? I am a newbie.
Yeah, when I first started playing, I used a controller. I actually had this DualShock 4 controller that I started with, and I'm turning way too sharp. But the biggest thing with the controller, it's hard to get the immersion, but you can still do a lot. You can. But the thing you've got to remember is you're in an 80,000 pound truck. Now, right now, I'm actually in a, let's see, I've got a 59,000 plus 36,000. So I'm probably, or sorry, no, 59 tons. So that's 120, I'm at about 150,000 pounds, right? There's no way I'm making that corner. Okay, so we've got to think here. But just remember, you're in a heavy truck. Take it slowly. It's not a racing game, and what you're going to want to do, if you've played racing games much, is you're going to want to tend. There's no way I'm getting this in here. I'm just going to have to not park it because I'm not going to get it in there. What you're going to want to tend to do is go fast because you're used to playing racing games. Just slow it down. Slow it down, and start slowing down sooner than you think you need to start slowing down. Take the turn wider than you think you need to take it. You saw I didn't take that one nearly wide enough for the trailer I had, and so that's big.
Said, patience is key.
Exactly, patience. Just because the speed limit's 75 doesn't mean you have to go 75, and sometimes you may not be able to go that. But just take it slow. The other one is there's a guy on YouTube named Squirrel, and he's got a set of videos that he calls driving school. And he goes through and he starts out from just the basics of driving a truck up to backing a trailer. And he does a great job explaining that. And I would suggest going over and watching his trucking school videos early on. I didn't find out about him till a month or two ago, but watch them early on because it'll make a huge difference in your trailer backing skills, if nothing else. So let's see, we are currently, where'd we just drop off at?
Official Aviator said, when I was driving the double trailer, I bombed a truck going head on because I was going the speed limit, but I was going way too fast. Yes.
Where did I just drop off? Yes, I'm going to say oftentimes the speed limit is way faster than you should be going, especially if you get up into double trailers or heavy hauling or things like that. Oh yeah, we went to Gallup. That's where we went. We're in Gallup right now. Then you really need to slow it down. You know what? Just because we're gonna haul an Abrams tank. Does anybody object to me hauling an Abrams tank, or does that look like it might be a fun one to haul?
Official Aviator said, it was a turn. Official Aviator said, yes.
Okay, we're gonna do this.
Said, go for it.
Okay, so the Abrams is actually a part of one of the mods.
Said, do it.
Okay, the Jazzy Cat now
Official Aviator said,
YOLO, you only live once, yes. So the Abrams is actually a part of JazzyCAD's military trucks mod. And so you won't get it in the vanilla game or from any of the mods or from any of the DLCs, but it is available as a free mod, but it's not one you can get on Steam. So if you're sticking to just Steam mods, then you'll be out of luck on that one. But it does add, and he's actually got, when you do the mod, he's got like 3 different files. And in the instructions it says, look, only put all 3 files if all you want to haul is military things, because you're going to get overwhelmed with military. And so there's that. I did not check to see what transmission I'm running, so let me check real quick. It is an 18 with a retarder. So now I've got to adjust my cabin. Again, it's not my own truck, so every time I got to adjust mirrors instead of adjust cabin. Or then instead of adjust seat. Anyway, I did it again. Got to slow down here, sorry. But yeah, like Maddie said, just slow it down. Especially in the beginning. But if you watch a lot of people online, especially when you get into the truckers multiplayer, a lot of the people just cruise. They're just going way too fast. And you've got a truck that's, you're driving that's 100 times, 50 times heavier than the car that you normally drive, and it reacts accordingly. And so just be careful, take it slow. Don't run into train crossings. And one of the things I'm doing is an economy mod, so any mistakes I make are a whole lot worse than in the real game. But in the real game, with a little bit of practice, you'll quickly be making, or in the stock game, with a little bit of practice, you'll quickly be making money. I've got to really watch it, because anytime I get a ticket, it basically wipes out whatever I'm going to make. So like right now, this job pays $123. So a single ticket will easily wipe out anything I make on that. Let's go ahead and take a screenshot here.
Official aviator said, "Sorry, I cannot watch for a long time. I have to go to bed soon. If you
no worries.
watch the news, I live right next to the hills and near the fire. So, if it speeds near my house, I might have to evacuate."
Well, I hope you don't. I understand having to go to bed. I probably ought to do that fairly soon here, but we can probably do one more delivery first. I think I said that after the last delivery, though, so we'll see how this goes. I'm going to say the nice thing is that I do work from home, so it's generally, I just have to get up and make it into my office, so that helps on the staying up a little later side. Okay. So this Peterbilt's pretty quiet, or this Peterbilt's pretty quiet. I wonder, I didn't pay attention to which engine's in there, but it must be one of the quieter engines. Oh, one of the mods I'm running is the realistic engines and transmissions. And so that's one of the things too, is it doesn't have all the stock engines. Like some of the stock engines are really overpowered and stuff, or some of the modded engines are really overpowered actually. But this one's realistic engines and transmissions. And one of the things it has is it has custom sounds. Oh, come on, get in there. Anyway, so I try to really play for immersion. So this realistic one is one of the ones I enjoy.
Said, "Good night. Great
okay,
channel.
good.
I subbed and likes. Keep up the great work. I
will do.
Keep playing American Truck Simulator."
Yep, I will keep them up. I don't have any kind of a regular schedule, but I will stream again sometime. Thanks for joining. So let's see, we're going from Gallup to Albuquerque, huh? Okay. I'm not gonna make that. Man, how much does this thing weigh? 66 tons. Ooh. Okay, I have got to watch my speeds. So one of the things I've noticed, this is the physics mod I'm running is Momo 6.2 or something. Actually, it might be just 6 because I downloaded 6.2, but I don't think I actually enabled it in the mod manager. I'm not sure. Anyway, one of the things I've noticed is when accelerating, I don't get a turn very much at all. Like my turn, it just kind of drifts out on the turns. But then as soon as I let off the throttle or I put on the brakes, then I turn quite a bit more quickly. I love, you know, it's one of those things where the modded game is just leaps and bounds ahead, and I feel like SCS could almost, you know, add a lot to the game by just going to modders and being like, hey, do you want to add your mod into the vanilla game, we'll pay you for it, you know, type deal. And say, you know, I mean, Jazzy Cat has so many models that he's added into both games, both ETS2 and ATS. And if you could have SCS go to him and say, look, we'd like to add some of your awesome modded cars. I mean, we've got all kinds of cars. Anyway, you know, go in and say, look, because the mods add so much to the game, but to be able to have that content without modding the game could be nice, especially for people who are hesitant to mod or haven't modded games in the past, because it can be a little intimidating. Now, SCS makes it really easy compared to, for instance, Silent Hunter 5. You've got it doesn't have a native mod manager, although the mod manager that the community has built, I actually think the mod manager you do use actually works better in some ways. But you can export your mod list, which if anybody knows how to export a mod list and re-import it type thing, because I always have to go back through and rebuild my mod list on a new profile, you know, put them all back in the right order, do all of that. So if anybody knows how to do that, export it as a, you know, on the text file side, is there a place that it's saved that I can just go in and copy a file to a new profile and have all the mods already there? That would be amazing if somebody knows how to do that. I've tried Googling it and haven't had any luck. And apparently this is about the worst light ever, because this truck is not actually up to the light. Okay, he's gonna go. Okay, he's gonna go. We're gonna make it eventually. We're probably gonna get caught on at least one more light though. Yep, at least one more. I don't need my brake anymore, my Jake brake anymore. And I'm getting too close. I was watching a video that I should stop at the point where I can still see the bottom of his bumper over the front of my hood, which I did not do. So, you know,
Matty Finds said, AI traffic is something that could definitely be improved. Funnily enough, it sort of mimics real-life idiot drivers, though.
Agreed. The one thing that really bugs me about the AI driving, because there are idiots do stupid things, right? I mean, that's the way there is. People make mistakes, people make stupid decisions. But the one thing that really bugs me is the on-ramps, because the AI traffic, you know, you've got your traffic going here, and the AI traffic gets to the end of the on-ramp, and then they just stop right there. And I've never, unless they're forced to do so, you don't just stop. You slow down or you speed up to the point where you can merge in with the oncoming traffic. The AI traffic never does that, which makes it really difficult to get on on-ramps, because you come up and there's 3 cars stopped there, and so then you have to stop. And then whereas at least usually in real life, not in times of, you know, traffic jams or whatever, people merge. And maybe I'm giving people too much credit, I don't know, but in my experience, people are more likely to merge than to just suddenly stop on the on-ramp. And that bugs me about the AI traffic. Okay, we are going to make this light. No, we are not going to make this light, and we're going to be stuck with our trailer on the tracks. Speaking of stupid things to do for drivers, I'm almost off the tracks. Oh well. I mean, it's a tank. Maybe it can handle a train. But anyway, yeah, the AI could use improvement. I agree. And there are lots of AI mods out there that I think improve on the stock, on what the stock behavior is. But a lot of them also end up taking a performance hit. What is that walking back and forth over there?
Matty Finds said, that loves me as well. I'd have the GPS route me off of the freeway only to directly get back on and deal with the on-ramp problem.
Yes. So if you'll notice on that turn I just did, the physics did what I said it did, where I had the wheel turned all the way and it wasn't turning hardly, but that as soon as I let off the throttle, it kind of, the tires bit in and actually turned. And I don't know if that's how a truck, at least a heavily loaded truck, drives in real life, because it does seem to do it a lot worse the more heavily my truck is loaded. It would make sense if it does, because as you speed up, then the weight gets pulled off of your driving tires, off your steering tires. Is it driving tires the correct term? Anyway, off your steering tires, and then you're less able to steer than you would otherwise be able to. And then with a heavier load, I would think that would be worse. And then if you stop accelerating or even start decelerating, then the weight would obviously go forward onto your tires, and it seems like it would make it more effective to turn. So, but it's something that sometimes bites me when I'm going slowly and I'm just trying to make a sharp turn. It's like, no, just turn. And then I run into something because it's not turning like I think it would. Or I'm trying to turn, then finally I let off the throttle and it turns really fast. Well, there's the train over there. I'm splitting my gears. I started at 6 low splitting.
I don't know the specifics, but I think it does have something to do with a heavier load and also liftable axles.
Ooh, liftable axles. That's one thing I really like to do on ETS2. Actually, my favorite layout on ETS2, I've never really gotten into the really heavy loads on there, but I like to have a 6x2 with a tag lift, because then I've got, you know, the extra tires when I need them, but when I'm running just with the tractor, then I can lift the tags, or when I'm maneuvering inside of inside parking or whatever, then I can lift that extra axle. If you do the mid lift, then it doesn't give you the same, you know, you don't end up with a shorter wheelbase because of the lift, whereas the tag lift does that. But it sure makes that truck rock back and forth every time you accelerate or decelerate. It's all over the place because you've got such a short wheelbase on it. And if you're pulling much of a load at all and you've got your tag up, then it ends up really going all over the place. A lot worse than even a 4x2 does. It looks like it is about time to drop to 8 low. Anyway, I've watched a lot of videos and stuff, both European side and American side, trying to figure out how to more realistically truck, and I think with time I'm getting better. So I'll share. I mentioned that I have floated gears in real life, but I've never driven a truck. But when I was younger, about 10-12 years ago, I had a 93 Chevy pickup, and it had a 5-speed in it. And so my dad, when I was younger, I learned to drive in a manual transmission, and then I went a long time without a manual transmission because all we had were automatics at the time. And so when I was at college, I had this Chevy pickup, and not necessarily the best college car, and if I had that choice to do again, I'd make it differently. But I had this 93 Chevy pickup, and it had 230,000 miles on it or something like that. And the engine had been rebuilt once, but the transmission was still the original transmission. And it started getting, like, the clutch was always kind of stiff, but it was getting worse and worse. And so finally, it blew the, it was a hydraulic clutch, and it blew the main, so you've got the main cylinder, and so I was actually off at college, and my dad's a grease monkey, and I've learned a bit from him. but he had the setup and stuff that I could go ahead and fix it, and so I picked up the parts, but he lived across the state from me. So I live in Utah, and he lived about 300 and almost 400 miles away from me. So I had this pickup that had a dead master cylinder, that's what it is. And so I could not declutch. And so I got to then remember all the stuff that I had learned on how to shift without clutching as I drove across the state. It did not have a clutch lockout. I might have had a clutch lockout, but I guess it didn't matter because when I pushed the clutch, it didn't declutch anyway. But so I could get going by just having it in low gear and cranking the starter, which is not good for the starter, but it works. And then I got going and hopped on the freeway, and I didn't have to stop much all the way across, but I just had to do the whole trip without a clutch because the master cylinder had blown, so I could not declutch. Anyway, so I've done it a little bit in real life, but that was also in a synchro tranny, so I assume it was a little easier than it would be in a non-synchro mesh tranny. I've got to watch my GPS because I'm going pretty fast for my load here, and in fact I'm going to slow down because I just remembered that I'm hauling 66 tons worth of train, so not train, 66 tons worth of Abrams tank. So I'm going to slow it down a little bit and remember that I've got a heavy load. Anyway, so that was some experience I had in shifting without a clutch or floating the gears, and it went well. I mean, I ended up, most of it was freeway travel, so there wasn't oh no, let's see, this is my exit here. I'm gonna totally run this guy over. Oh, I've got a retarder. Anyway, so a part of me really wants to try driving a real semi. Like my coworker, ever since I've been doing this whole American truck, Euro truck stuff, my coworkers joke with me that I should just go get my commercial license. But I tell them, no, that's what I do in my free time, not for work. And so anyway, I know that ever since starting this game, I pay a whole lot more attention to semis than I ever used to. I didn't know a whole lot about them before, but I watched for Peterbilt 389s and K100s and all these different trucks that I've driven in game, as I watch for them around town and stuff, and it's definitely created a new passion, a new interest in me, I guess.
Marty Fines said, I actually only have experience with manual transmissions in semi-trucks. I have never driven a manual before getting my CDL. My next car will be a manual, though.
How is that, doing your CDL with no experience with a manual transmission? Because I look at, that's what I learned to drive in, so there's an advantage there. Now, whoa, no, thank you. That guy almost went in front of me. But was that a big change to go from an automatic automobile to a manual transmission on a truck? Okay, I gotta get over because this is my turn coming up. Because I feel like that would be a big change, and frankly, I am of the opinion that everybody should learn to drive in a manual transmission. But maybe going forward, that's not going to be all that important after all. I don't know. I know in Europe, manual transmissions are still a big thing, but in the US, they're not.
Said, it was very scary, but my teachers were very good and I passed my first try. I was slightly familiar with the concept beforehand, but I went in totally blind.
Apparently that was my green. Gotcha. I'm glad you had good teachers. I know I was watching some guy on YouTube that was a trucking instructor, and he was teaching somebody who had no experience with a manual transmission, and it didn't seem to be going too well, but but in the end, he did get his CDL, and he, you know, so he learned. But it was a painful process. It looked like, even just the concept of, you know, putting in the clutch when you stop. It's fairly easy to remember to let out the clutch when you're starting, but putting in the clutch when you stop is a different story, you know. Anyway, okay, here we go. Oh, and I come on. Do I need to use a crawler gear here? Ah, I don't. Did I put on a parking brake or something? No. Is it just that heavy? I don't know if I'm gonna get going here.
Matty Fines said, they actually said that I was better off not knowing manual. They said that if I already knew, I may have had some bad habits that wouldn't translate well to driving a semi.
Ah, that's something I didn't think about. I know I've heard that in other instances too, where, you know, learning something wrong to begin with is worse than not learning at all to begin with. Okay, I've got to crawl to get going. I got to use my crawler gears to get going here. Whoa, 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 whoa! No. See that? When I let off the throttle, it turns. When I give it throttle, it doesn't hardly turn at all. Anyway. Well, that's good. I could definitely see where that would be the case, especially as, you know, your the two experiences are probably very different. But you plan on getting a manual transmission for your next car. So I wonder how that will translate from driving a truck. Okay, here is our delivery. Hopefully we can make this delivery, unlike the last one, where I just had to tell him to drop it off.
Matty Fines said, I wanted it myself.
Yeah, I say, so I learned to drive, first time I ever drove was when I was 12 years old, and we had a really old Suburban. Actually, no, I guess the first one I drove was an old Chevy pickup that had a 5-speed in it, and my dad let me like drive through a gate somewhere. Not like through the gate, like he opened the gate and I drove through it. And apparently this is not where I'm supposed to be. I'm totally in the wrong place. Looking at my map down there, I'm in the wrong place. So let's go ahead and get turned around and figure out where we're supposed to be. Anyway, so I learned to drive on a manual, and then my mother was not too happy about me getting to drive at 12, so I didn't get to drive again for a while. And I'm not making the turn. Anyway, and then again it was with a manual transmission, and so I kind of went through all my driver's training on a manual transmission, but then by the time I actually got my license, we didn't have a manual transmission anymore. So I went a while without driving one, and then when I was almost 17, I bought a 69 Jeep that my dad and I rebuilt the engine and stuff on, and it had a 3-speed, I think is what it had, just a little 3-speed. So so then I got experience driving that again, and then I drove manual again for a while. And when I bought that truck for college, it was a manual, and so I actually had, I don't know, a good 10 years there that all I drove was manual transmissions. I had a Volkswagen Jetta that had a 5-speed, and then I had the pickup with a 5-speed. I had a 4Runner with a 5-speed, and I'm totally, come on, I thought I was going to make that, or at least almost make that. Gotta give me some space here. You know, it is getting late, and I think I'm not gonna try and drop off this. I mean, I'll drop it off, but I'm not gonna try and park it.
I see what you're saying with the turning and accelerating. I wish I knew what to tell you.
Yeah, like if I'm accelerating at all, it almost has no grip, especially out here in the dirt. Yeah, I know. Do you want me to run you over? Is that why you're hunking? Okay. So I'm not sure if I'm much of a fan of that on this physics mod, but I think it's more to do with this physics mod than the stock game. Come on. I'm gonna nick you here. Okay, I think I'm just gonna have to pull more straight forward and then back up again. Okay, get out of my way. Yeah. Is there someone back there? Yep, there is. I don't think I'm ever gonna make it in there. Okay, come on, come on, come on. Just gotta get enough that I can get in there and tell them I'm not gonna park it. Because I'm not gonna park it on this one. I'm having to just kind of give it a little bit of throttle and let it off, and a little bit and let it off to get it to turn. There we go. Okay.
Finds. Said. Might want to see if disabling the mod helps then. When I first played ATS, I found the feel to be pretty accurate to real life. I think they did a great job with the physics.
Gotcha. Well, maybe I'll have to just try it without it then. I'm just going to say, you know what? I'm not going to do it. Because, okay. Well, we accomplished it. And I made my $123, and I went up a level. So that's good. I think I'm about ready to go up in long distance, actually. Let's go ahead and do one in long distance. That way I can get longer jobs. Okay, well, thanks for everybody that joined tonight. Thanks, Maddie. It was great talking. And I think I'm going to call it a night. See you maybe next time.
Officially.